collaboration of a lot of efforts. And Fosse, I don't know if you know this, started with Chet Walker and Gwen Verdon having these classes, workshop classes, and they would invite people to these classes, that young dancers, and they would teach this material. And before, I understand, I think this is correct, before Mr. Fosse passed away, he had had some meetings, Chet and he had had some meetings about doing something like this, some version that was a retrospective of his work. And so Chet was with the, what's the word? With Gwen's permission, with Gwen's, okay, thank you, blessings. I knew there was a word out there I was looking for. And he started teaching this material, and that ended up going, they did some workshops, they did 3, I think, workshops, or maybe it was 2, I don't know, up in Toronto with Garth Jabinski producing them. And then finally, I remember at one point I was taking Chet's class in New York, and I knew that these classes were going on, these little secret classes, and I said to him, I want to be a part of that. Can I come and do some of that stuff? I mean, and he was like, no, we've made this decision. Gwen and I have decided that we only want to teach it to new people, people that have not worked with him or have not done it before. You know, so I couldn't get in on these fun workshop classes. But then we did have auditions. Then they finally, after 2 or 3 workshops that Garth produced up in Toronto for the show, they ended up finally deciding to do it, go forth, full production. But they made some changes in that time, and Chet was let go, and Anne Reinking was brought in. And so therefore, all of these dancers had this material and taught to them beautifully. Chet Walker is a wonderful, wonderful teacher of Mr. Fosse's stuff. He was his dance captain on many shows, and Sweet Charity Revival, and also on that dance-in that I went into. Anyway, so he knows the stuff, and he taught it very, very well to these beautiful, young, talented dancers. And then they brought in one of the other changes that Garth wanted to happen, if it was going to be a full production, was to bring in some seasoned performers. So a few of us seasoned performers got the job, and we tried to integrate ourselves, or they were trying to integrate us into this material, and it ended up, it was a tough call for many of the young dancers who had been doing these nice little lead positions in some of these numbers, and then the seasoned ones came in, and you know, they were pushed aside. But they really, really tried to be as fair as they could be. They, meaning Anne and Gwen, and tried to keep, everybody had something. You know, they didn't take everything away from some of the dancers. And anyways, working this material too, like I went into dancing sort of late. I remember doing Dancin' Man and learning one step and thinking, I was being put into it already, the cast already knew it. Most of the dancers already knew it because they had done it in the workshops, and I was being put into it along with some of the other gals that were new, and I just remember thinking, that's not the way we did it. You know, when Bob showed it to me, but you had to give that up, you know, because come to find out, you know, I realized too, in talking with Gwen and anyone else who had worked with him, in particular Gwen, she would say, you know, Bob would do, for Helen Gallagher, he did, you know, Nikki. And then when he did a tour, it was somebody else, and then he'd go, well, that doesn't really fit, you know, and he would change it. And so Gwen would come up and go, do you want to do it the way Helen Gallagher did it, or do you want to do it the way he did it for the first tour, or for the, you know. Anyway, so there were many versions kind of that we could draw from, and that made it for interesting rehearsals, to say the least. But we finally all got it together,